Welcome to the Indian Sun. Today we have with us Shiuli Sural, who at the age of 19 has been an inspiration for kids her age when children are worried about their own future at this point. Last year, Shiuli, when she went into college and the lockdown happened, realized that people who are less privileged than her were having a really bad time in terms of not having jobs and due to lockdown and especially women. And she did something very, very inspiring and very interesting and started something very new. And let's not waste any more time and ask her what she did. Hi, Shiuli. Welcome to the Indian Sun. Tell us something about
Hello.
yourself.
Thank you for having me here. It's a great honor. So I'm, like you said, I'm 19 years old. I live in New Delhi and I'm currently pursuing my undergrad from Delhi University. Right. So that's who I am. I like to read and write. And like you said, last year I decided to do something a little bit extra for the society.
Yeah. So tell us more about it. We are really excited to know.
Right. So last year in August, I was just writing an article. I had to write an article on period poverty, which is a relatively new term nowadays that's come up. Not a lot of people know what that is. And I was just doing some research for my article, and I found out that according to a family health survey, 42% of women in India have never heard of a sanitary pad before. Now that was something that was rather striking to me, right? Because for me, I've always been privileged enough to have access to the most hygienic sanitary products, to all information related to health, periods, menstruation, everything. So I did some more research and I found out that for those 42% of women, what are periods like? They're very different from what menstruation is like for me or for you. So I found out that they obviously have to resort to using cloth or sometimes even newspapers or dirty rags, which are just washed once and then reused again and again. So that was something that really, really got me thinking about myself and and I thought that I should probably do something. So the first person that I thought of was my domestic worker, right? Because I realized that we often overlook domestic workers who are such an integral part of our life. There's someone who you meet every day, you see every day, who you interact with every day, and you never really ask them some important questions that you should be asking. So I went to my domestic worker and I asked her whether she knows how to use a pad or not. And she told me that, oh yes, I know how to use a pad, but I don't use it. So I was like, why? So I was like, why? Why would you not, use a pad when you know what it is, when you know how important it is? So she said an answer that should have been very, very obvious to me and to everyone, that pads are very expensive. Right. She said that I would rather use that money to either buy a medicine for myself or even a toy for my son, for that matter. So I went to my mother and I was like, we have to give her a packet of sanitary products every month. And obviously my mother agreed. And my mother was like, you should ask other people to do the same, right? I mean, you should be asking your friends to do the same, your family to do the same. So that's kind of where the idea of a sanitary gift was born, which is like my organization. And I started encouraging people to give period products to their domestic workers, to talk to them, to ask them, whether they know what proper menstrual hygiene is. And yes, that's where it started.
Wow. And what was was there any other inspiration to, go big with that? You could have only stuck to your own, domestic worker and or ask your neighbors and friends. What made you go beyond that and, organize drives and go to the slums and do it for more people?
Right. So, but then I realized that whatever I was doing, I mean, I was happy with that because a lot of people were responding positively to it, and
Right.
sending me pictures of them giving period products to their domestic workers. But then I thought that why not take this a step further, because the pandemic was something that has hit everyone really hard. Everyone's gone through a lot of like times that have been really turbulent for everyone. But then I realized that that entire huge issue happened of the migrant workers who were walking home, and you could see pictures all
Yeah.
across the internet of
Absolutely.
and then I yeah, so that was again something that was the trigger to take it forward, because I thought that there are a lot of people who work at construction sites, right, who are daily wage laborers, who work as laborers when you're building someone's home. So I realized that it's got to be even worse for them because they don't have access to facilities like a closed bathroom or clean drinking water. Right. So then I thought that, okay, I'm going to try to take this further. And a lot of my friends were supporting me in this. So I talked to them and we decided to form a proper team and come together and, start doing something just beyond that. We started doing distribution drives and going out to slum areas or just even a basti wherein a lot of our domestic workers live, and their daughters as well. You're giving a period product to your domestic worker every month, but then I thought, oh, they're going to have people in their family as well who also require these facilities. So that's how I talked to my friends and we came and we formed a team, and then we started building it up.
So how did the idea of holding online concerts and other stuff come around to get donations? How did you come up with that?
Okay, so like I said, when we started to build that on further, so we realized that we would obviously require funds, to buy the pads and then go and distribute them. So we did a drive with a school that agreed to sponsor pads for us, and we went out and did it. But then we realized we wanted to do something of our own, contribute to do something really big of our own, that would go a long way in ensuring menstrual hygiene. So we decided to organize a fundraiser.
Right.
So we called it Career, which means well-being. And then the biggest question in front of us was that how are we going to convince people to donate to such a cause, right? Because
Right.
firstly, it's kind of it felt a little odd for us to go around and start asking for money and donations. We'd never done it before,
and that too during a pandemic when other people,
Yes.
people were losing jobs and everybody's worried, and people have started believing कि हम कितना support करें, how much should we support others when we
Yes.
are ourselves enough. So how was
Exactly.
how did they respond to you when you went around,
Right. No, so exactly what you said, no, like that was the biggest worry that, that
That's a
there's a
challenge.
pandemic going on. Everyone has 30 problems of their own to cater to, someone has COVID, they're recovering, or someone has some responsibilities to take care of. So how do you go and ask people to donate at this kind of a time? So that's where we decided that that we had the idea of doing a fundraising event. Right. So this is a concept that usually happens in the West. Like I've always read about, music stars or pop stars doing fundraising concerts where all the funds go to a particular cause. So that's always really excited me. So I thought, okay, so obviously we can't do something like that, but we can try to make it of our own scale and try to do something. So that's how the idea of, doing a concert was born. So we thought of doing two events. We did a virtual concert in which I wanted to approach students like us because we've seen over the past 1 year how the pandemic affected everyone, and I thought that it's best to bring up the youth at this point of time, and we started approaching people who were interested in singing, and they were obviously we got a very positive response. Everyone wanted to be a part of it. And then I remembered that one of my friends has started doing some stand-up comedy shows over the internet online.
Okay.
So I approached him and I asked him that, okay, so would you like to, do something, and we could charge a small fee and all the funds would go to our fundraiser. So I think that a lot of that just because we were willing to offer people that 1 hour of a virtual concert as a stand-up comedy really made that fundraiser more relatable to everyone. Like, people like as opposed to when we were just saying that, okay, come and donate to our fundraiser, as opposed to that, when we told everyone, okay, buy a ticket to a virtual concert or a stand-up comedy, and all the funds will go to provide period products for underprivileged people. That's when the response really started coming in, and everyone was really excited. They attended that, and we raised a lot of money through that, and that's how we did our career fundraiser.
Another thing I wanted to know is, apart from raising money and giving sanitary products to the underprivileged, I also saw some videos where you had brought in doctors and other healthcare specialists, and were talking about periods in general, and other related medical conditions that are related to periods or to women or to hormonal issues. So how did that come around, and what is the response to that? Because it's obviously not for the poor people; it's for everybody.
Yeah.
Anybody who's on the internet. So how is
Right.
that?
So I've observed this in myself and in my team over the last 1 year, is that while we are going and educating underprivileged menstruators about menstruation, we've got to study a lot before that, and make sure that our facts are correct.
Right.
Because one thing that I feel is very wrong over the internet is that people generalize medical issues, hygiene issues, especially something like menstruation, which is still so clouded in myths and taboos. Even for households like us, menstruation is not something that has been fully normalized yet. So I found this rather odd, that people are just going around, and just because they've got a certain amount of followers or a certain amount of clout over the internet, they're just passing on information that they've probably gotten over the years, right? So but I was like, that's wrong, right? Because in issues such as this, professional healthcare experts and their opinion is something that should be primary, right? That should be given the primary focus. You should always have doctors approve what you're saying. You should always have a professional telling you whether that's correct or not, because that's how myths pass, right? When you just say something that you've just been thinking over the years, and just begin to self-diagnose your own medical problems by reading some random Google page that you've searched. So that's
Google is probably the main source of all the knowledge, quote unquote, that people have been accumulating, which is very scary, to say the least.
It really is. Because and when you realize how much more scary it is when we actually started having these live sessions with doctors and professionals, and we asked people to send in questions, we realized that people have such important questions to ask doctors about their own body, about menstruation, about their own cycles, that they shouldn't be Googling these questions at all. They should be going straight to doctors and asking for verified opinions. Because I asked a lot of doctors when they come, and I asked them that, how harmful self-diagnosis is. And they're saying that it's the biggest threat nowadays, because firstly, most problems go undiagnosed because people don't realize what's going wrong, because they don't get themselves tested. They don't, consult gynecologists at proper intervals. So that's why we thought that it's very, very important for us to do something for our social media community and our followers that we've gathered over the years, who follow our Instagram page and who are seeing what we're doing. We thought that it's our responsibility to disseminate correct information about menstruation. And that can only happen when you bring in healthcare experts or doctors or gynecologists.
Absolutely.
So that's how we came to do that.
Is there any adult helping you? Adult, you guys are adults, but any of your seniors, any of your teachers, parents who also are helping you out with this project, or are you just a bunch of college students?
Right, so it's mainly our team, and we just get together and brainstorm over what we've got to do next. But yes, obviously we go to our parents and always ask whether we should be going forward with this, or if there can be something done. Because a lot of my team members and their families also, when they go and talk to them, there's always like some insightful idea coming in that, oh, my mother said we can also do this. Because I think our parents and our teachers have seen that world wherein social media was not there, wherein no one was taking up the responsibility to actually try and give correct information, or spread awareness.
So or the platform was not available. This platform was not available, so you couldn't go directly and talk to people about menstruation, because it used to be, and it still is, a big taboo subject. Coming to which, do you find any pushback from the society or from people when you talk about menstruation? Have you ever, have there been incidents where people have come and said, don't talk like that, and what are you doing, and stuff like that?
Yes, there have. Because like you said, it's still a huge taboo.
Yeah.
When you look at us talking about menstruation right now, or even when we're doing a live session on Instagram, or me talking about it with my teammates, we have to remember that we're just that 1% of the society that does talk about it.
True.
There's like a whole lot of people who still believe that these are topics that shouldn't be talked about in the open. These are topics that just women should talk about amongst themselves behind a closed door. So I remember a few instances, like there was one when this was really early, when we hadn't started a Sanitary Gift even. There was this one platform, just a live session going on, wherein we were just talking about menstruation being a taboo. That's just it. And a bunch of people came to that live session and started trolling, harassing, all kinds of things that people do on social media, and started saying that, oh no, you shouldn't be talking about this, and why are you wasting your time over here? No one wants to see you people talk about menstruation. So in times like these, I mean, obviously, when we were reading those comments live, we were trying to respond to them and tell everyone that no, it's not a taboo and it's perfectly okay. But it got slightly, it got slightly out of hand. So we reported those accounts, and that's nothing compared to the kind of humiliation that a lot of other people face on social media every day when they're trying to spread awareness.
That's true.
So that was one instance. Then obviously there is a kind of a mind block when you go out for a distribution drive as well. The people who you're distributing pads to. I mean, most recently, just a couple of days ago, when we were doing this distribution drive in Vikasbari, so my friend and I were just distributing pads, and then suddenly people stopped coming. So we were just kind of like asking, oh, isn't anyone left? That's just it. And people were like, no. They're very shy and they don't want to come out and take pads. So, that situation occurs a lot. And whenever you go out for a drive, that women don't want to come out and take pads. Like, like one person will just come out and say, oh no, hame sabka de dijiye, wo bahar nahi aana chahte, unko sharm aa rahi hai. So when that happens, you try to explain that, oh no, it's nothing to be ashamed about. Like, I always say that I am here giving pads out in the open. Why are you ashamed of taking it? It's, it's completely fine. So, and then a bunch of women came out and they were giggling, and, they were kind of really shy and apprehensive, and they don't really want to take it unless you actually go approach and put it in their hand and say, okay, no, you have to use this now. So that is also obviously there again, because they've been brought up in an environment where no one's actually ever talked about their own hygiene with them ever. So, those are just some of the things that you face.
So another thing is, like, this time you've given these women pads for maybe a month or 2 months. What about, thereafter? Do you have any plans? Do you want to go back again and again? What is your, plan of action?
Yeah. So this is something that we're trying to work on right now, is how to ensure that it's going to be sustainable, that we're going to be getting it again and again and again. So I remember this one very nice incident that happened, which was our first distribution drive that we did. We went to this basti here in Vasant Kunj, that's right opposite JNU, and we distributed pads there. And then 2 months later, we had to do another distribution drive. So we went back there to give pads again, right? Because obviously those pads would have been used up till then. And there was this one woman who actually remembered us, and she came and she said, "Ki, Arey, aap to 2 mahine pehle bhi aaye the na." And her daughter was there with us, and we gave both of them pads, and that made me really happy because I realized that that cycle won't break. Like they would continue using hygienic product. They won't have to resort to using a cloth again ever. So that's something that we're going to try to do. Try demarcating areas and going month after month and providing them period products. That's the goal ahead.
So do you also, when you go there, do you also try and talk to them about menstrual hygiene? Do you get a podium, or are they like don't talk about it in the open?
Right. So we always make a point to ask, especially when there are young girls coming and taking pads from us. We always make it a point to ask you, do you know what this is, and do you know how to use it? Because right now during the pandemic, even government schools have been closed, were closed for over a very long time. So I don't think they ever got a chance to know if they started menstruating during the pandemic. They wouldn't have gotten a chance. So we always ask, especially when there's a young girl, that I hope you know how to use a pad, and if you don't, we can explain it to you. So the thing is, what I've noticed is that usually people know what pads are because they see it around in advertisements or hoardings, like you see a Stay Free ad and you get to know what that is. But they don't use it obviously because it's very, very expensive and they wouldn't want to, put all their money into something.
Waste their money.
Yeah. So they'd rather buy something else. We always make it a point to ask, girls, especially young girls, who we just think that, they must have started right now. So we always ask them, "Aapko use karna aata hai? Do you know what this is or not?" And
another thing I wanted to ask was coming to pads. You have to, it requires you to go back again and again and give them pads, and also it accumulates in the environment, and there's been a lot of talk about that. So have you considered menstrual cups yet? There's a lot of that can be used for a long time.
Yes. So I think so firstly, it'll take a lot of time to make that switch, definitely, for even people like us who are really, really aware about how that you should have eco-friendly menstrual products now. So I think a better switch would be to a cloth pad, especially when you're dealing with underprivileged menstruators, as opposed to a cup, because also using a cup, that's going to be very difficult to explain, and I don't think we're the right people to go around and start explaining that something that's slow, that's slightly scientific, and that should be explained by a proper doctor or a gynecologist.
Somebody who's a specialist.
Yes.
So exactly. you're thinking of cloth pads then that can be used.
Yeah, but even then you're going to have to go and explain how to properly wash a cloth pad, how to dry it in the sun, because again, like if they start just washing it and then reusing, sometimes even they reuse wet cloth, so then there's going to be no difference, no impact made. Right. So that's something that we want.
So, that's true. So what are your plans for the future now that the colleges are not opening up? Looks like they're not this year also, and last year also was wasted, and coming out of what you've been doing and what you could not do, enjoy college. So what is, what is it that do you want to work more on this, to compensate? What are your plans now? Do you want to register going forward? Take it a big NGO?
Yeah, definitely.
What are the...
And also we were kind of planning, like I said before, we'd like to go back again and again and try to provide them, like the same people with period products again and again, so that they can keep continuing to have a healthy menstrual.
So you want to adopt a few busties and go back.
Yeah, we were thinking of that, like having our demarcated areas where to go again, and we were also thinking of firstly making that switch to cloth pads, and trying to support small brands that make hygienic cloth pads. That's also something that we want to do. Empower small businesses in India, because also self-help groups that make sanitary pads, we'd like to buy from them and distribute. We think that, that is something that's also providing a lot of employment opportunities to menstruators themselves.
Right.
When a lot of
Absolutely.
women are coming together in rural areas, and we'd also like to go to rural areas now, because I mean, due to the pandemic and the lockdown, we've only been able to go around here to busties and slums in urban areas. But again, rural areas are a bigger challenge, because that is, I mean, people there are even more unaware about menstruation and proper menstrual hygiene practices. And yeah, that's what we're planning to do.
Good. And any other plans apart from that? Do you want to get into
Um,
something else? Are there any other, apart from this, do you guys plan to do something else also in the coming year or the rest of the year?
uh, there was well, we were actually planning, like, as I said, we began with domestic workers, right? And then we started distributing to other sections as well. But we want to go back to the domestic workers thing and try to ensure that more people adopt that. So, to create a kind of culture wherein it's pretty normal for you, for your domestic help and you to talk about periods. So we were actually thinking of trying to do some sort of a community awareness program wherein we go to different societies. I mean, in Vasant Kunj, you have something called an RWA, that's a Resident Welfare
Right.
Association. So you were thinking of partnering up with them and going and, trying to encourage more people who live in a society and talk to them and, conduct events and tell them that it's important to talk about menstrual health with your domestic worker, and
And
try to
also,
sort of,
also to give them,
yeah,
napkins or period
yeah,
products
to
every
give them
month.
packets, yeah, every month, definitely. So we were trying to sort of expand in that sense as well.
Okay, Shiuli, it was really nice talking to you and hearing your ideas and on your challenges as well. We wish you all the best for your future. And would you like to tell our viewers about Harriet and where they can donate? Is there a link or something that you'd like to share with
Right,
us?
no. Firstly, so I'd like to encourage everyone to first go to the domestic worker and talk about periods and give them a packet of period products. Khairiyat, I mean, we closed up, we were able to cross our target amount. We raised 21,000 rupees. And yeah, so we've closed that fundraiser link for now, because we were
Okay.
able to accumulate that amount of funds. And we're going to be distributing period products now. We've already placed an order for pads and they've been delivered already. So we're going to be going out and distributing period products now. In fact, we've partnered up with an organization that's going to help us distribute them in Siliguri, that's in West Bengal as well.
Wow.
So that's another one of our goals, to expand to different states of India and,
That's
try to
great.
encourage more people. Right. So that's what we're going to do. And as for what I want people, like what I would ask everyone to do, is to actually first go and talk about it with your own daughter, or, even talk about it openly in front of men in your family. And yes, talk about it with your domestic worker.
Thank you, Shiuli, and we wish you all the best for the future of a sanitary gift. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. It's such an honor, and it was so great talking to you.